Hi, and thank you for joining us for our 8th edition of Real Estate Pros in the Know. This is Stephen Etzel coming to you from the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors. And my guest today is Melanie Kruse. She's the Membership and MLS Coordinator of the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors. And what our topic is today is why should a consumer use a realtor with MLS access? Welcome, Melanie.
Thank you, Steve. Glad to be here.
Can you tell us a little about your background?
You know, Steve, I've been in this business for just a few years. I started in real estate in 1992 here in Texas, and I've done just a little bit about everything other than residential leasing and commercial. But I started in sales. I went into the marketing department. I became an educator, writing and instructing classes. I was in real estate office management, and now I'm a coordinator for the MLS system, helping our agents understand the MLS. So I'm here to kind of help our consumers understand it too.
Wow, so you got a little bit of background in real estate.
A little bit. When you're in it as long as I have, you tend to float around a bit, but it's beneficial.
So you'd be the perfect person to ask this question. What is the MLS?
Okay, good question. You know, the MLS stands for Multiple Listing Service, and it is a system that is designed to help agents share and promote properties. Back when I first got into real estate, there was no such system. Everybody wanted to work within the listings of their own company, keep everything, as we say, in-house, and promote it within their own realtor base. But now we've expanded on that quite a bit.
Yeah, I remember the good old days where the MLS came in the UPS.
You're right, that's a good point.
It was all booklets.
And they were thick, boy. It was a challenge to look through those, yeah.
So does every single solitary agent have access, or just certain agents or certain professions?
Right. You know, not all agents do have access to the MLS. Those that do usually will be identified with the R MLS symbol on their marketing or business cards. But a seller should always ask, and a buyer too. Aside from the realtors that have access to the MLS, other professions such as appraisers do have access to the MLS. That's where they will pull their comps and their comparables for when they are working on an appraisal to see what has sold in the area. We do have a few that are licensed in dual industries such as mortgage and real estate that may have access, but the majority of it is realtors.
The question I always get asked, do you have to be a realtor to have access to a lockbox, or who's got access to a lockbox? I always get those confused.
Right, and a lockbox and MLS are two different things, but for our particular association, yes, we do require that they be a membership with us, which is then what gives them the title of Realtor as a part of the National Association of Realtors, and then the state level and the local level. And that is in conjunction with the MLS system then. So for our association, yes, they must be a realtor and have a subscription to the MLS. That is separate from being able to have a lockbox to access properties. So the MLS system gives the ability to look and research and compare properties, and then the Supra keybox system is what allows one to access the actual home. For our members, we do require that they have a license of some sort in order to get that keybox. So they will have MLS access. That will be our realtor members and our appraiser members. Some of our affiliates might have access to a key box, such as an inspector, but would not have access to the MLS.
You also brought up a really good point, too. Not every license holder is a realtor.
Right. Not every license holder is a realtor. And that's one thing you really want to make sure of when you're talking to those that might be listing your home or those that might be assisting you in buying. By accessing the MLS, by becoming a realtor and having the access to the MLS, they're held to a higher standard. It is a code of ethics in addition to just the rules and regulations about the MLS system themselves. There's a certain way they're expected to treat the consumer, unbiased, and putting the consumer, the client's interest above their own when they're a realtor. There is a big difference between a licensee and someone who has made that step to join the Association of Realtors.
Absolutely. That's a good point. So who else can see listings in the MLS? Just realtors or appraisers?
Well, again, realtors and the appraisers generally do. Some dual career agents will see access to the MLS in a limited level. Of course, any of the staff personnel within a real estate office and at the association level where we are. So it's multi-tiered, but the majority of the people with the access are going to be realtors and appraisers.
Can they also add the MLS to a website?
They can add the MLS to a website, and that's a great benefit because when they're adding the MLS to their website, it updates the data frequently, and it's always going to match the information that's in the MLS. So that limits liability of inaccuracies between sites.
You told me something before we started the podcast. You said how many actual websites the MLS goes out to. I was absolutely shocked.
Yeah, our MLS does syndicate listings out to over 100 different websites. Some of them are very familiar, like Realtor.com and Zillow and Trulia, Homes.com. Some are smaller websites, but with over 100 that the data is sent to, any eyes we can get on that listing is the better offer that the seller is going to receive. It just stimulates competition when you market that way.
Absolutely. So why does a board and MLS membership matter?
Well, the important thing about having that board membership, again, so they're a realtor, is the expectation of a higher quality of service, the limitation of the liability, because, again, we have rules and regulations when things go into the MLS that we check for before it's even displayed.
So do you look at those listings before they are actually, once they're entered in?
We have a system that checks them automatically, especially for fair housing violations. But, we're great partners with our brokers too, and many of our brokers will review the listing before they actually let it go out on the internet as well. So there's that extra level of protection there as well.
It sounds like it's a really good liability catcher.
It is. Why would a seller want to risk the liability of putting data up into a website manually and then maybe adding it to a second or a third website? And then when they change their mind about, for instance, price, have to go in and make sure that they've changed that price on every website or added something to the description or removed something from a description. When it's an agent putting it in the MLS, it's immediately changed for anyone that has access to the MLS, and it is sent up automatically to those 100+ websites. So the information is deemed to be reliable across the board because it's coming from one source and fed out to the others.
So what other benefits does the MLS have to offer the buyers and sellers?
Well, the number one still is the exposure. By using an agent who has the MLS system, they're incredibly increasing their exposure. Just the number of subscribers, here in our area, we have over around 50,000 subscribers for our MLS system. And again, when you have those that are then helping their buyers look for homes, the first place they go is the MLS. Most all sales come from a listing that was in the MLS. So it allows the buyer agents to look for properties and match them up to the criteria their buyer needs without the buyer having to spend time on the internet. It allows the seller to increase the marketing. And of course, the more marketing they have, the better offer they're going to receive. It would be difficult for a homeowner to post it to the different websites and track the exposure and track the changes and track who has seen the listings like our agents can do in the MLS, to contact other agents who have buyers who might be interested in the property.
We have some great tools within our MLS system that somebody that doesn't have access definitely would have to do a lot of hard work to find out.
Right. They would be on the phone and they would be hitting the streets trying to contact agents about a property that they're trying to market. Exactly.
I couldn't even imagine trying to list a house without having MLS.
No, it would be, it can be done. Is it the wisest choice a consumer can make? I would have to disagree that it would be. They're hiring a realtor for a reason, and that's to take the stress off of them and to provide the professionalism and the guidance to get their property sold. And again, the more exposure, the better offer you're going to get. It isn't about a fast offer, it's about a good offer.
Solid offer. Yeah, I've also seen in the MLS too that agents are also asking for certain qualifications. They're asking different questions of buyers before they even put the offers in the property to make sure that that deal can actually go through.
Right, exactly. And you know, that's even more important these days because as our market has changed a little bit and our days on market have expanded, we're also seeing more listings that have gone under contract that then fall out because of a buyer qualification issue. So when it's in the MLS, that information can be shared amongst agents, so they know when they're talking to their buyer, let's get pre-qualified. Let's make sure we've got everything that they're saying that they need in order to have a solid offer that they would accept. We want to help limit the risk of having a contract fall out. So getting that exposure and that communication going through the MLS between agents is critical.
From a little bit of experience on my side, I've noticed the MLS also offers some great disclosures of the property as well.
Yeah, we're required to have a lot of disclosures. And one of the things our system checks for, too, are those proper disclosures. We make sure that the language is stated in a clear manner, so there's no misunderstanding. We make sure that sellers' disclosures are posted in the MLS so that buyers, through their agent, have easy access to it. We also indicate at the bottom of every page that the information is deemed to be reliable.
This is great information. I think everybody should know about the MLS.
You know, everyone hears the term, nobody really knows what the benefit is, so I'm glad to bring the information.
One last question. What else do you want buyers and sellers to know about hiring an agent who uses the MLS?
Well, I think first that realtors are the professionals that are trained specifically to describe your property in a manner that is attractive to buyers. To get the listing put in the MLS quickly and to maximize that exposure, filter showings.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, you know, you don't know who's going through your house when you have a show on your own kind of system. They get the buyers qualified to make an objective offer. Again, we're trying to limit liability, getting someone who can walk you through this process and get that exposure. We want to drive that traffic, get you the best offer.
I just wanted to throw this little story up. I knew somebody that put their property, they listed it on their own. And what it basically did, it didn't attract consumers, it attracted agents.
Oh.
So what happened was it kind of went against what they were trying to do. They listed the property to the consumers, but the agents saw that they didn't have a listing agent representation. So what they did is they showed up to all the open house. Next thing you know, the seller had 10, 12 brokers asking for business. So that definitely helps vent out some of the potentials for buying and selling your properties as well.
Absolutely.
So you actually have bona fide buyers at that point in time.
Right.
So that's interesting.
You know, I hadn't thought about the difficulty that sellers have with doing their open houses too. That's another responsibility our agents have, and that exposure goes out through our MLS again. They notify through the MLS that there will be an open house. By putting that information in, again, it's fed through those 100 websites. So it, again, is another mechanism to drive that traffic.
Quote unquote target marketing.
Yes, target marketing.
Well, I want to thank you again, Melody, for being our guest.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's been very fun to be here, and I hope the information we've provided is beneficial.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. On behalf of the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors, this is Steve Etzel, and we'll talk again next month.